Hey YouTube, I have been wanting to make this video for a while, and in fact I should probably not address YouTube, I should probably address Calgary, but I guess everybody's going to benefit from this in some regard or another. About 3 weeks ago, maybe a little bit more than that, I mean it says June 10th on there, so I guess we can use that date. These signs started going up all around our neighborhood, and I've watched these signs come up and come down for the last 10 years, and I've wanted to make a video about it for a long time, and this year I guess it was finally the straw that broke the camel's back. I've been thinking a lot about Roundup, and while the city of Calgary is not actually spraying Roundup, I just looked on the sign there and it's actually 2,4-D, which I need to do a little bit of research about. But if I'm not mistaken, 2,4-D is the same chemical that got sprayed in Vietnam, Agent Orange, to bring down the jungles in order to try and create a war advantage for the United States, or for the Western world, let's just say it that way. And you don't have to dig very far to see the repercussions of the health repercussions of the massive defoliation effort that occurred in Vietnam to start uncovering the atrocities that the Vietnamese people have had to deal with over the last 60 years. And so when I see signs like this go up, on one hand, it's responsible for the city of Calgary to warn the citizens that they're going to be distributing this toxin throughout the city. It makes me really sad that we still live in a world where we have prejudice against certain plants. And it's partially the prejudice against certain plants. I mean, the prejudice against certain plants is the reason why we spray these chemicals. But it doesn't stop at that. We are living in a very dense situation in these cities. And the fact that the sign says that you should remain off of spaces, which you don't actually know which spaces they've sprayed or which they haven't sprayed, by the way. But the fact that they're telling us not to touch it and not to allow animals onto it indicates that there's knowledge that this stuff is poisonous. And that really bothers me. I have 2 kids. A lot of my friends have dogs. And it's funny, I was at a Permaculture Calgary Guild event last night, Sunny Cider, and it came up multiple times with multiple people, how many people we know that are in the hospital or are dealing with cancer. And cancer is just kind of the conversation that's happening all over the place now. But whether it's cancer, MS, ALS, I mean, I don't have to go through all the diseases. You guys know because you've heard it. You've heard people in your family and friends talking about how many different people you know are dealing with diseases and illness and sickness. And they go all the way from chronic fatigue all the way up to terminal diseases that are not curable. And so I'm going to make a series of videos about this, because it's not just the city of Calgary, it's Safeway, it's Save On Foods, it's Superstore, it's Costco, all to varying degrees. I mean, these other companies are selling products with this stuff either on it or inside of it. It's everywhere. And it really makes me wonder, like, who's responsible for this? It's not just the Monsantos of the world, it's not just the Dow Chemicals, it's not just the Safeway and the Save On, the Costco and the Walmart and the Superstore. It's not just the consumers that are purchasing it. In some regard, we're all partially to blame. The people that are living in the city, the consumers that are buying the products, are to blame for being complacent about it or not doing their own research. The city officials that are using this material are to blame because they clearly know that there's a problem. I mean, it's written on this sign. Without it saying that it's toxic, they're basically saying stay away from it. So they know. The corporations, and there's just an unbelievable amount of data now indicating that Monsanto has clearly known about the health effects, the horrible health effects of the products that they are selling, based upon all the lawsuits that are coming out right now and some of the concealed data that their own companies have concealed, knowingly causing deleterious results within human and animal health. YouTube is awash with these videos now. There are documents all over the internet. There are scientists who have lost careers as a result of blowing the whistle. We know these things are bad. We all have blame to bear on ourselves, and as a result of that, it's up to us all individually, whether we're CEOs or individuals or managers of companies or municipalities, we all have to do our part and stop putting this stuff all over the place. It's nobody's benefiting from it. In fact, the only people that are probably benefiting from it are the people that are selling more chemicals to deal with the acute diseases that are showing up in our hospitals. But it's time to stop. And so I wanted to make this video, and I'm hoping that you can do me a favor and you can send this video to your alderperson or your MLA or your MP and get them to do their own research. You don't have to trust me. There's plenty of information. Google and the internet have basically allowed the free sharing of information more than any other time in human history. There's PubMed, which has made all of the medical documents available that show that these chemicals are causing harm. There's literally no excuse anymore. We cannot claim ignorance at this point. And so after this video, I'm going to put a series of videos into this playlist that talk about the effects of glyphosate, and in this case 2,4-D, on human health, on ecological health. And you can do your own research from there and allow those videos to suggest other videos that will show you or open your eyes to the fact that these chemicals just should not be allowed to be sprayed. And I get that cities and farmers are all trying to save money. We're all trying to reduce the amount of human labor in whatever industry that we're trying to operate. And so when we look at chemicals like this, and yeah, I did buy this bottle. I bought this bottle so that I can make a series of videos about it. It feels really weird to have purchased a bottle of Roundup. But the reality is that the misunderstanding of plant ecology creates this false demand for elimination of weeds and invasive species, which is usually what's driving the decision to use these chemicals. And there's just no way that a city could ever afford to pay all the labor that would be required to pull all the weeds. But the question remains, are they weeds in the first place? Are they really issues? It's really interesting when we kind of get into the realm of weeds, how one branch of biology can be in complete contradiction with another branch. So on one hand, we've got evolutionary biology, which talks about how ecosystems evolve based upon specific pressure. And I mean, this really kind of delves into Darwinian philosophy around survival of the most adaptive. Yet we have another branch of biology which talks about conservation biology, and it's really concerned about maintaining ecosystems in stasis and kind of categorizing or using the categorization of species that we likely would have started categorizing up to 400 years ago when Europeans came to North America, and trying to hold these ecosystems in stasis. And so we put some plants into the weed category because they weren't necessarily here, or we didn't see them 400 years ago, or we didn't have the intelligence to document them, or just enough people or enough paper or whatever it is. And then we put other species into kind of the native realm, things that were here when we showed up. And then we have a third category of plants which we kind of ignore with regards to whether they're native or invasive or weeds or here or not here. And these are the cultivated monocultures that we put right across our country. So canola, wheat, corn, soy. And we kind of ignore the fact that we're propagating these plants at the expense of what was there, native species, let's say. And because it's for human food, we kind of ignore that it's displacing thousands of species, bird, animal, or mammal, avian, arthropod, anthropod, reptilian. And even though soy, corn, wheat were not here when we started propagating them, we ignore it because it's for human food. And so the same goes for human ecosystems in cities. We have kind of made a decision about what's native and invasive, and then added this third category in, which is like, well, they're aesthetically pleasing, or they're food plants. And so there's no scientific basis for any of this. That's the reality. And because we have got a misunderstanding of science, and we've kind of ignored basic scientific reasoning, and we create this demand for these chemicals, which really are not doing any benefit at all. In fact, they're causing human health harms, and they're costing taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. And the reality is that no matter how much of the stuff we spray, it's never actually going to solve the problem, fundamentally. So we're wasting taxpayer dollars, we're getting more sick because of it. And it's time that we start questioning this. It's time that we start talking to our elected officials and start making change and demanding that they do not use our taxpayer dollars to try and solve a problem that's not solvable. This is literally akin to hitting ourselves on the head with a hammer and then taking Tylenol and Advil, all to try and deal with the headache, but the headache won't go away no matter what drugs we use, Tylenol 3, morphine, opium, fentanyl, whatever it happens to be, until we stop hitting ourselves on the head. So let's look this issue in the face. Let's take pictures of these signs and send them to our politicians and ask them to tell us why they think they need to do this and spend our hard-earned taxpayer dollars to try and deal with a problem that will never be dealt with by spraying these toxic chemicals. Do your own research. I'll leave a series of videos in a playlist behind this video that you can go and watch. Leave your comments in the comment section below. And I urge you, share this. Send it out to your politicians. Let them do the research and let them tell you, because they are your employee. You hired them. They are beholden to you, and they deserve to give you an answer, or you deserve to get an answer from them in order to explain why we're doing this stuff. Thanks, guys. I'll make a whole bunch more of these videos. There's so many other places that these chemicals touch our lives on a daily basis, and most of us are completely ignorant to it. And so I'm going to create a series of videos in the next few weeks that help you guys to uncover where these chemicals are being used and how they're entering into your life, probably without you even realizing it. Have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you guys soon. Give me a like if you found that useful, and share it with your local politicians.